Yeah, first question. Read, please.
Which statement is correct? A, in a common economy, firms compete and profit maximize allocating resources efficiently.
In a command economy, there's no efficiency because it's done by let me just explain them anyway. For command economy, this is an economy controlled by government. So profit maximization is not part of the objective. So the answer is not A. In the command economy, resources are privately owned. No, resources are owned by the government. It's not B. In the market economy, prices are used to signal the value of individual resources. Yes, that's the answer anyway. Why? Because in the market economy, the resource allocation is determined by the price mechanism for demand and supply. So the market forces for price mechanism decides the price at which we sell. So if resources are going to be allocated in the market economy, it depends on the price for the products, the price mechanism of demand. That means the demand and supply of the product. So the answer is C. We go to the second question. Don't worry, let me just do it. Okay, thank you. The diagram shows the market for a product, the product of which has both external costs and external benefits. So we have our marginal social cost, we have our marginal private cost, we have our marginal social benefit, and the marginal private benefit. Now, what is the difference between the level of output that will be produced by the market and the socially optimum level? For socially optimum level, we are talking about the marginal social cost. So the difference between the level of output that will be produced by the market, that means the privates, and the society, the difference between it will be based on the marginal private benefit, which is at X, and the marginal social cost, which is at Y. Do you get the point here? The market is the private, which is the marginal private benefit. What benefits the market, and what is the cost to the society? The benefit of the market and the cost of the society. So it's between X and Y. So the answer is C. Is it clear? The government is considering building flood defenses along a river. It has calculated the cost and benefits as follows. For the cost, I wrote it out. The social cost, the private cost, we need to find the social cost. Social cost is private cost plus private cost plus external cost. Social benefit is private benefit plus external benefit. So let's check the total cost there. The social cost is 450 plus 60. That is 510 million. That's the social cost. And this private cost, the social benefit is 450 million. So that means the social cost exceeds the social benefit. So if the social cost exceeds the social benefit, then there's no point based on what we call cost-benefit analysis. If the cost exceeds the benefit, then you should not make a decision on that. You shouldn't make a decision on that allocation. So based on what we have here, the social cost exceeds the social benefit, right? So we should not build. So it's either C or D. So let's check. We should not build because private costs are greater than the external benefit. No, because the social costs are greater than the social benefit. So the answer is D. Is it clear? We go to question 4. So they said the graph shows the total utility obtained by a consumer from eating biscuit over a period of 1 hour. What is total utility? Total utility is the total satisfaction you derive from the consumption of a commodity. That's satisfaction you derive from the consumption of commodity. Then we have what we call the marginal utility. Marginal utility is the satisfaction you derive from consuming an extra unit of a product or service. So based on this graph, after consuming the third biscuit, check the difference between the fourth and the fifth. It doesn't change anymore based on the graph. So after consuming the third biscuit, the consumption of biscuits starts diminishing. It stops taking that biscuit. You get the point here? So it is after the third one that marginal utility starts diminishing for biscuit. So the answer is A. Question 5. It said the diagram shows the budget line for normal goods, X and Y. What are normal goods? Normal goods are goods that as our level of income increases, we tend to buy them. That is normal goods, okay? So what could cause a budget line to shift from PQ to PL? A shift from PQ to PL means a leftward shift to buying good Y. So that means they stop buying good X because good X is PQ, good Y is PL based on the graph. So if there's a shift leftward from PQ to PL, it means that the price of good X has started increasing. The price of good Y continues to stay the way it is, and the level of income also doesn't change.
So it's C.
Yes, that's question what?
That's question 5.
Yes, that's C. Did you get it? So go to question 6. They said a consumer spend all of their income on two goods, Y and X. Please. Okay, a consumer spend all of their income on two goods, Y and X, and is at position E. That's the equilibrium is at E. The price of X falls and the price of Y remains constant. The graph shows different curves and budget lines which are used to determine the price, income, and substitution effect that are related to this price change. Which distance gives the income effect of this price change? So if the price is changing for good X, that they said the price of X fell. So if the price of X falls, it means that the output of X will increase. Because the law of demand says the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. So that means there's going to be an expansion in good X. Okay, so if there's going to be expansion in good X, based on the graph, we have X1, which is at equilibrium with Y1. Then there's a fall in price of X, which means good X will expand, right? So our expansion could be for X2, which we have the line, and X4, which we have other line. So the difference, the income effect will be from X2 and X4. Is it clear? So the answer is C. We go to question 7. They said, what defines average variable cost? What are average variable costs? Average variable cost is total variable cost divided by output. Total variable cost, TVC, divided by output, which is C. Is it clear? We go to question 8. They said, what cannot be changed in the short run? In the short run, there will be one factor that is not changeable.
Which is?
It could be land. But here we don't have land, right? But we have technology. So technology takes time to change too, yes or no?
Yes.
So the answer is B. Is it clear?
Yeah.
We go to question 9. They said, the market structure of an industry changed from being an oligopoly to monopolistic competition. Oligopoly is a market structure where you have few large businesses dominating the industry. The industry is supposed to be competitive, but it is not competitive because the few large firms are the one dominating. But if it's shifting from oligopoly to monopolistic, for a monopolistic market, it means that it's a market structure where you have an imperfect system, where the products they are selling looks the same, but they are not still close. They are the same, but they are you can call them imperfect competition, because the product they sell are not that close in substitutes.
Different quality.
It could be quality, it could be the nature of the product. It's not like a perfect competition where you have Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and the rest. But here, the product looks to you like they are substitutes, but they are not close substitutes. So here I wrote, changing from oligopoly to monopolistic competition means that the number of firms competition have decreased. So here, if you are changing from oligopoly to monopolistic competition, it means that the number of firms in that market has reduced. Do you get the point there? Okay. So we go to 10. They said a firm's, let me go back on here. Then they said a firm has total production cost of 200,000. Its average fixed cost, AFC, is 120, and its AVC is 80. What is the total first fixed cost? What is the firm's fixed cost? So here, the first thing is that the total cost is 200,000 done. TC is FC plus VC. Total cost is equal to variable cost plus fixed cost. Here, we don't know our variable cost. We don't know our fixed cost. We need to find them before we can find the average. Before we can find, we know the AVC and the AFC, but we don't know the FC and the VC. So to find the FC and the VC, we have to add the AFC plus the AVC. It gives us it gives us TVC. We have our total fixed cost, which is not known. We have our total variable cost, which is not known. But we have our average variable cost, which is known to be 80. We have our average fixed cost, which is known to be 120. and we have our total cost, which is known to be 200,000.
Mhm.
So from this, we have to derive our total fixed cost and our total variable cost.
Mhm.
For total fixed cost, it is the formula for total. Okay, so for our average fixed cost, it is the total here, which is 120 plus 80, which is 200,
Okay.
divided by 200,000, gives us our output. First, you need to know the output. So the output multiplied by average fixed cost, the output multiplied by the average variable cost gives you fixed cost, gives you variable cost. Get the point here?
Yeah.
We need to know the output. Now we know the total cost of production, but what is the output of the production? We don't know.
Mhm.
So we need to know the output. How are we going to be able to get the output? Our output will be AFC plus AFC plus AVC.
Mhm.
That will give us the total value figure. That's our average figure for the total production. So that means 200 divided by 100, 200 divided by 200,000 give us our output. Because we wouldn't get our average total cost without dividing the total cost divided by output. Our average total cost, we know that our total cost. So our average total cost, ATC, is TC divided by output. Average total cost is total cost divided by output. Now we have average total cost to be average variable cost plus average fixed cost. Give us our average total cost. Average total cost. So our ATC is AFC plus AVC. So if our ATC is AFC plus AVC, that means our ATC multiplied by output give us our TC. So ATC is not known.
Mhm.
So how do we get ATC? We need to find the output. So ATC is AFC plus AVC, which is 200. So 200 equals to 200,000 divided by output. So when you cross multiply, you're going to have 200 output divided by TC.
Mhm.
To get ATC, to be TC divided by the output, which is 200. So our ATC is, our output is 100,000. 1,000, sorry.
Mhm.
So 1,000 is our output. So for our average total cost, which is our average variable cost, which is 80, will be 80 multiplied by 1,000.
Mhm.
Do you get the point here? So that means our variable cost will be 80,000. Then for our fixed cost, which is 120, will be 120 multiplied by 1,000, which is 120,000.
Mhm.
So the question is saying we should find the total fixed cost, not the total variable cost.
Mhm.
So if the question is asking for the total variable cost, it will be 80,000, which is C. But the question is asking about the total fixed cost, which is 120,000.
Mhm.
Is it clear? So the answer is D. Go to question 12. They said, and question 11, sorry. Are you there, please?
Yeah.
They said, what is the characteristic of a monopolistic competition? You know, I told you a monopolistic competition is a market structure where there are many competitors with an imperfect substitute. There are many competitors with an imperfect substitute product. So what we are saying is that the products are still differentiated. So they try to differentiate the product. That is why we call the product a product that is not closely a substitute.
Mhm.
So with the characteristic here for a monopolistic competition is that they try to advertise their product to support the notion that the product are not the same. So the answer is B. Is it clear? Question 12. The diagram shows the marginal cost and the average cost and the average total cost of profit maximizing firm in a perfectly competitive market. So which market price would mean that the firm would operate in the short run, but not in the long run? In the short run, the firm can only operate at the average variable cost. Do you understand? So the price at which the firm can operate in the short run, because at any point in time, firms want to increase their price, yes or no? So the only time they want to operate is going to be at a lower price, which is at P2.
Mhm. So the answer is B.
Is B. We can't talk about P1 because at P1, it is marginal cost, which means they are producing an extra unit.
Mhm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the answer is
B.
P2, which is B, yes. Question 13. It said the table shows the average income of the richest 20% of households and the poorest 20% of households in the UK. And also in the UK, and the effect of government taxation and benefits on average income. Before taxes and benefits, that's the figure for the average income for the rich, it's 5,000. The average income for the poor was 7,000. After direct taxes and cash benefits, it reduces to 68,000. It increases to, for the poor, it increases to 13,000. After all taxes and benefits, it reduces to 63,000. It increases to 17,000. What can be concluded in the table? The effect of direct taxation have affected the rich less than the poor? No. The government policy achieved income, because when government comes out with this kind of policy, government is trying to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. That is the point. So the government policy achieved income equality across households? No, it does not achieve income equality here. The government redistributed all income taken from the rich to the poor? No way, they did not. Because if they do, that means the income or the average income of the poor should have increased more than this figure. The government policy reduced the income inequality between the poor and the rich? Yes. So this policy has reduced the gap between the rich and the poor. So the answer is D. Is it clear? Question 14. They said, assuming that there are no externalities, where would a nationalized firm set output to maximize social welfare? A nationalized firm, that's a firm that belongs to the government. So a firm that belongs to government wants to set output to maximize social welfare, where the average revenue equals to the marginal cost. So that means the average revenue, that is the total revenue divided by output, will equals to the marginal cost of producing extra. So here I said, a nationalized firm would set output where the cost of producing a unit is equals to the cost of producing an extra unit. Do you understand? So the revenue made will be less because government wants to maximize social welfare. Do you understand? Government wants to maximize social welfare. So for government to maximize social welfare, that means the amount of money spent by consumers on such product will be less on the extra unit government will produce. If it is for the private firms, it will be marginal revenue equals to the marginal cost. Do you get it? But yet its average revenue equals to marginal cost. Question 15. What is it 15 years? Okay. They say, what is the specific advantage of pollution permits when compared with an alternative policy of taxes levied on the quantity of pollutants emitted by firms? The point is that if there is pollution emitted, it means that the level of pollution can be predicted because we would know the total number of people or firms that have purchased pollution permits. So if they all use the pollution permit, it means we know the level of pollution emitted in the society. So the answer is D. Is it clear? Question 16. They said, which diagram correctly shows the relationship between the average products, the average product and the marginal product of labor, given that the quantities of factors input remains constant. If other factors are constant, then what happens to labor? So here, if other factors are constant, the point is that the marginal product of labor must exceed the average product. The average product must exceed the marginal product. Do you get the point? Yeah. So for the average product to exceed the marginal product, it should be at B. Do you get it? Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, yes, so the relationship between labor, that means what labor is producing, should be in the average product, not in the marginal. Because if it is in the marginal, it means you need extra labor to produce more. But if it is at average product, it means labor is producing more at every given unit of output. That means you are not using more labor to produce. But for marginal product, you are using more labor to produce the output. So that means it's not efficient. So to be efficient, it means the labor you have is producing more units, not that you need more labor to produce more units. Is it clear? Yeah. So the answer is B. Clear. Question 17. They said the diagram shows the short-run relationship between the total output of a firm and the quantity of labor. Based on this graph, the quantity of labor is increasing and the total output is not increasing. It's somehow stable. It's not increasing. If it's increasing, it should go up. So it's staying. So what has happened here? It means that more quantity of labor is being used but their effort is declining. Their physical effort is declining.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because normally, if the quantity of labor is increasing, the total output should increase, should rise. But yeah, it's staying. So if it stays this way, it means that the physical effort of labor in labor productivity is falling.
Mm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the answer is D.
Yeah.
Question 18. Company X reduces its number of workers from 250 to 200, reduces its number of workers from 250 to 200, and as a result, its output decreases from 5,000 to 4,800 per unit per day. Company Y increases its number of workers from 800 to 1,000, and as a result, its output increases from 2,000 to 2,200 units per day. What happens to labor productivity? What is the formula for labor productivity? Output divided by the number of workers. So we don't know what has happened yet. Yet they said it has reduced for X, it has increased for Y. It doesn't mean that X is falling, Y is increasing. Let's check. So based on labor productivity, we said output divided by number of inputs. So at X, before, it was 250 divided by, before, we have 250 output, 250 workers, 5,000 outputs, right? So that's 5,000 divided by 250. That's 20 before. Then after, we have reduces to 200, right? That's 4,800 divided by 200. We had 24. So before now it was 20. After reduction, after reducing the number of workers, it increases here. Output labor productivity increases to 24.
Okay.
For Y, before it was 2,000 divided by 800, which is 2.5. Then after it is 2,200 divided by 1,000, which is 2.2.
Yeah.
Labor productivity fell.
Mhm.
So based on that analysis, based on this calculation, it means that company X increases productivity, labor productivity, not output. It increases labor productivity, and company Y fell in labor productivity. Is it clear? So the answer is B.
Mhm.
Question 19. They said, what is not included in the measurement of national income? When you're measuring the national income, you measure it through the foreign investment, dividends from returns on foreign investment. You measure it through the income on rent. You measure it with distribution of shareholders. So the only thing you won't measure the national income of the country is with the age-related pensions, because the population of pensions are not, they are economically inactive. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
They are economically inactive. So they are not, pensions are paid from government purse. So it is expenses. So it is not going to reflect in the measurement of national income.
Yeah.
So the answer is A. Is it clear? Question 20. They said the graph showed the HDI and its component parts for Zimbabwe. So we have the HDI at the top. We have the education index. We have the GNI per capita, that's gross national income. We have the gross national income, and we have the life expectancy. So based on this graph, they said between 2005 to 2010, which component of the HDI have comparable changes to its overall changes? So we check the GNI. The GNI is falling. It fell in 2005 to 2010. It fell. The education index increases from 2005 to 2010. The life expectancy increases in 2005 to 2010. So the answer is that the HDI is as reflected through comparable changes from the educational level and the life expectancy. Did you get it?
Yeah.
So the answer is B. 21. 21. It said, what makes it possible for the increase in real national output to exceed the increase in labor? So for output to exceed the number of labor, the labor productivity, you need to employ more workers. So that means what? Employment. You have to increase employment. A. Is it clear? 22. We have a table that talks about China's GDP in 2006. It increased in 2007. It fell in 2008. It fell in 2009. It increased in 2010. It fell again, and it fell. Consumption fell, increases and fell. Investment increases, fell, increases, fell, and fell. Net export, that's the difference between the import and export. Fell, increases, fell, and fell. So what does this tell you? It tells you that China economic rate of growth fell in more years than it rose.
Mm-hmm.
It fell more than how it rises. It rises. Is it clear? So the answer is B. 23. What is the cause of seasonal unemployment? Seasonal unemployment will be as a result of decision or demand for certain products in a particular year, in a particular period of the year is reducing. Like maybe in the summer, we don't buy jackets, we don't buy raincoats, we don't buy umbrella, or these things. The demand for these things fell at that period of time. It's temporary. Mm-hmm. After that, you start buying again. You get the point? Yeah. So they said, what is the cause of seasonal unemployment? A general decrease in demand of goods and services. For a general decrease, we call it is it structural? That is structural. It is not. A lack of necessary skills in the workforce. That is your own problem. That means you don't have the skills. Lack of skills. An unwillingness of workers to move to other parts of the country where there's work. That is, we call it, what type of unemployment is that? We call it, what type of unemployment? Voluntary unemployment. We call it voluntary unemployment. So the answer is C. Mm-hmm. Is it clear? We go to 24. Which role correctly identifies leakage from a country's circular flow of income? When there's leakage, it means that the flow of income in an economy is reducing. That is what leakage is in economics. So what would have caused a flow of income to reduce? Savings is greater than investment. Yes, people are saving, they are not investing. That means income will less because money is not going out. Public sector, taxes is greater than government spending. Yes, people are paying more tax. Government is not spending. Income is reducing. Yes or no? So, and trade sector, export is greater than import. No, it should be import greater than export. So the answer is D. Is it clear? Because when you talk about leakage deals with the private sector spending and investment. It deals with taxes and imports. Clear? 25. In a closed economy with no government expenditure and no taxation, the initial income is $5,000 in millions. All savings are carried out by consumers who save 20% of additional income received above $5,000 in millions. That is the consumption. Firms plan to invest 1,000. What is the multiplier effect? The formula for multiplier effect is change in consumption over change in income. The change in consumption is 5,000 and change in income is 1,000. So 5,000 divided by 1,000 is 5. Is it clear? Right. Go to question 26. Based on this graph, we have our money supply, and the money supply is there, and we have our liquidity curve, or liquidity preference curve, and we have our rate of interest, which is fixed. So based on this, whatever happens to money supply would make the rate of interest to remain the same. So let's see what they said. They said the market is in equilibrium at interest rate of R. If the government increases money supply, what will be the effect on the interest rate? No effect. Is it clear? That's the question 27. An increase in which of the following will cause a decrease in investment spending? Why will investment spending reduces? It will reduce because the interest rate is increasing. If the interest rate increases, the cost of borrowing will increase. So firms that are willing to borrow money to invest won't be able to do that. Investment reduces. So the answer is C, 27. Then go to 28. The graph shows a shift in the liquidity preference curves for an economy from liquidity preference 1 to liquidity preference 2. The rate of interest is there. They said, what might have caused this shift? A shift from LP1 to LP2 would have been as a result of what? I said, an increase in income. An increase in income will mean that we have more liquidity. That means a rightward shift. And having being optimistic about the future means that we can spend. We wouldn't care, right? So being able to spend makes firms to have more revenue and cash too. There will be cash inflow for firms. Is it clear? So let's check what the options are there. As I said, an increase in the real national income, yes. Increase in pessimism about the future of the economy, no. Because if there's increase in pessimism, that means people are still scared about the future. They are not confident about the future. They wouldn't want to spend.
Mm.
Then there won't be LP1 to LP2.
Mm.
But the answer is B anyway, because in B, we have optimism. We are optimistic about the future. That is what it means.
Mm.
So that means spending will increase. Then firms will be able to have cash inflow. So the answer is B. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Question 29. What is most likely to increase in the short run following a rise in the income rate of inflation caused by demand side shock? The current account deficit on the balance of payments. What is most likely to increase in the short run following a rise in the economy's rate of inflation? Oh, the answer is A. It is not purchasing power. It affects the balance of payments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the answer is A. The current account deficit of the balance of payment. Yes, it affects it. What is most likely? Because there's demand side shock. Yeah, it is the balance of payment that will affect.
Mm-hmm.
So the current account deficit on the balance of payment, yeah. There's inflation. Inflation. Right. Reduce prices, meaning deficit, yes. Deficit in the BOP. So the answer is A. So with high inflation rates, the goods, your exports becomes higher. Foreign customer will not want to buy from you. So that reduces your export. It can increase your balance of payment. It will lead to balance of payment deficit. Do you understand? It is when your export increases that you start having reduction in the balance of payment deficit, leading to surplus in the balance of payment.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last question is 30. It said, which combination of policy is most likely to increase output? For output to increase, what are fiscal policy? Fiscal policies are government policy that talks about subsidy and taxation.
Mm-hmm.
When government uses subsidy and taxation to manipulate the economy, that is fiscal policy. For monetary policy, government uses money supply or interest rates to control the economy. So for this to happen, government must increase their budget deficits and at the same time decrease the rate of interest.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yeah.
So the answer is C. That ends that.
Okay.